We will begin our side event shortly. Excellencies, distinguished participants, I have the honor to warmly welcome you to the side event on cooperation with impact towards a more resilient and sustainable Asia-Pacific region, jointly organized by the Government of Indonesia and ESCAP. Today's event will showcase results and achievements of regional cooperation in Asia and the Pacific, including through South-South and Triangular cooperation. We'll be launching ASCAP's virtual exhibition for South-South cooperation and ASCAP's Technical Cooperation Highlights 2020-2021 publication in the next hour. Before we start the meeting, we'd like to remind everyone that this is a hybrid meeting, and we have some participants who are with us in person at the UNCC and many online. To minimize disruptions, we would like to remind you to please mute your microphone unless you're speaking. I'll now like to invite His Excellency, Mr. Rahmat Budiman, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary and Permanent Representative of the Republic of Indonesia to ASCAP, to deliver his opening remarks.
Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me a great pleasure and an honor to deliver an opening remarks in this side event on cooperation with impact towards a more resilient and sustainable Asia-Pacific region, co-organized between the Government of the Republic of Indonesia and ESCAP. This is an important occasion which reflects continued government and intergovernment organization cooperation in forging efforts to strengthen regional technical cooperation. Indonesia is of the view that ESCAP plays an important role in strengthening South-South and triangular cooperation, including in facilitating meetings and forums, not only among countries in Asia-Pacific region, but also between developed countries and developing countries, as well as cooperation with non-state actors in the region. The Asia-Pacific is a vibrant region that has seen peace, stability, and prosperity for millions of people. Indonesia will continue to play its role in regional technical cooperation. From 2015 to 2020, Indonesia provided approximately 200 South-South and triangular cooperation programs to developing countries in SDG sectors such as agriculture, fisheries, disaster risk mitigation, and small-medium enterprises sector. Indonesia believes that cooperation between countries in the Asia-Pacific region and ESCAP will ensure SSDC implementation in the Asia-Pacific region to have a significant contribution in achieving SDGs. There are several ways in which ESCAP can help strengthen SSDC in Asia-Pacific. Among others, establish a mechanism for sharing best practices, help countries to maximize the use of ESCAP expertise and technology to improve SSDC project, and encourage triangular cooperation between developing countries with developed countries and donor agency. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, in this side event, the speakers will highlight how technical cooperation has become instrumental tools in achieving a more resilient and sustainable Asia-Pacific region. Indonesia has been actively implementing South-South cooperation and triangular program since 1999. From 1999 until 2020, Indonesia has conducted no fewer than 1,000 South-South and triangular cooperation program for developing countries in the regions of Asia, Pacific, Middle East, Africa, South Africa, and the Caribbean. Through this program, Indonesia has shared its best practices of Indonesia's various leading sectors. Indonesia supports South-South cooperation framework as a means to help developing countries in accelerating the realizations of the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. Indonesia's commitment in South-South cooperation is reflected in the Government National Medium-Term Developing Planning 2020 until 2024. In implementing SSDC, Indonesia holds key principles such as inclusiveness, equality, solidarity, non-intervention, and mutual benefit. In 2019, Indonesia has established Indonesian Aid to function as financing agency in implementing Indonesia International Development Cooperation, including South-South and Triangular Cooperations. Since its establishment, Indonesia Aid has implemented grant assistances to countries in ASEAN, Pacific, and African region. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic has caused severe disruption to the safety and well-being of the people all over the world, especially in health and economic sectors. This problem particularly affects the most vulnerable in developing countries and LDCs. To overcome this challenge, collaboration between countries, development partners, and non-state actors through South-South and Triangular cooperations are important to increase resilience of vulnerable groups during this challenging time. Amid the pandemic, Indonesia is still committed to assist Asia-Pacific countries by providing medical supplies, among others, to Solomon Islands, Timor-Leste, and India. Lastly, Indonesia welcomed the launching of ESCAP Technical Cooperation Highlight 2020-2021 publication. ESCAP publication gather best practices of South-South and Triangular Cooperation Program in the Asia-Pacific region. Through this publication, ESCAP member states can learn about formulation innovative projects, building and strengthening multi-stakeholder collaboration, and creating impactful strategies to further amplify the benefit of South-South and Triangular programs cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Mr. Rahmat Budiman, for your opening remarks. I now invite Mr. Adnan Aliani, Director of ESCAP's Strategy and Program Management Division, to deliver his opening remarks and conduct the launch of the virtual exhibition of the Global South-South Development Expo.
Excellencies, distinguished participants, it is a pleasure for me to welcome you today to today's side event on cooperation with impact towards a more resilient and sustainable Asia-Pacific region. The event is jointly organized by ESCAP and the Government of the Republic of Indonesia. I would like to thank His Excellency Mr. Rahmat Budiman, the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary and Permanent Representative of Indonesia to ESCAP, for taking out time from his busy schedule and gracing us with his presence. Capacity development is at the core of ESCAP's technical cooperation program. The main objective of our capacity development work is to develop the technical, managerial, and institutional capacities of members and associate member countries to plan and deliver more effective policies and programs in support of inclusive and sustainable development. During the panel discussion on ESCAP's Technical Cooperation Highlights 2020-2021, we will have a chance to hear from our partners who have first-hand experience in working with ESCAP on capacity development projects. Recent years have seen significant shifts in thinking on development cooperation. While official development assistance remains an important component, the focus has increasingly moved to South-South cooperation as a critical and rapidly growing modalities to achieve SDGs. For us at ESCAP, South-South and Triangular cooperation has been everyday business for the past 75 years. South-South and Triangular cooperation has informed our research and analysis. It has underpinned much of our intergovernmental work and has been central to our technical cooperation work. The government of Indonesia has been one of our key partners in promoting South-South and triangular cooperation in Asia and the Pacific, particularly through its strong support in the establishment and the organization of the Asia-Pacific Directors General Forum on South-South and triangular cooperation. Looking ahead, 2022 will mark a milestone in South-South cooperation in Asia and the Pacific. The government of Thailand, ESCAP, and UNOSSC will jointly host the 11th Global South-South Development Expo in Bangkok, Thailand, from 12th to the 14th of September 2022. In conjunction with the Global Expo, we will also organize the 4th meeting of the Asia-Pacific DG Forum on South-South and triangular cooperation. These events will provide an opportunity for member states to discuss more concrete measures in the region for leveraging and enhancing the role of South-South cooperation as a key modality for sustainable recovery from the pandemic and for accelerating the implementation of the 2030 Agenda on Sustainable Development. Today, I am pleased to launch ESCAP's virtual exhibition for the Global South-South Development Expo. ESCAP has set up 3 virtual booths at the Expo, displaying a range of knowledge products and public information material, including short videos, flagship and other publications. In Booth 1, ESCAP South-South Cooperation Highlights, we feature some of our good practices in facilitating South-South cooperation amongst our member states. In Booth 2, ESCAP and its presence across Asia and the Pacific, you can find out more about our sub-regional offices and regional institutions' work. And in Booth 3, ESCAP key thematic areas, we give a holistic view of ESCAP's sectoral work for advancing inclusive and sustainable development in the region. To learn more about the impact of ESCAP's technical cooperation work, I invite you to visit our virtual exhibition, which is now accessible on the Expo website, and for which we are sharing the link again here in the chat. I look forward to our fruitful discussions and deliberations at today's side event. Thank you.
Thank you for your opening remarks, Mr. Aliani. Before we proceed to the panel discussion, we will now present a short video on ASCAP's approach to South-South cooperation, which can also be viewed in ASCAP's virtual exhibition.
The COVID-19 pandemic has shown just how the world is interconnected. To overcome this crisis, we need to cooperate and protect the health and well-being of everyone on the planet. South-South cooperation and triangular cooperation is central to achieving this goal, while also accelerating the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. At the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, facilitating South-South cooperation is at the heart of everything we do and what we have done for the past 75 years. With a network of 8 divisions and 5 sub-regional offices working across 8 thematic areas, along with 5 specialized regional institutions, ESCAP acts as a catalyst to exchange knowledge, resources, and advice to create a more inclusive and sustainable Asia and the Pacific. A sample of ESCAP's cooperative achievements include identifying best practices when it comes to using technology in the healthcare of older persons, helping women entrepreneurs in the region access e-commerce platforms, and facilitating the sharing of knowledge about improving civil registration systems. It's projects like these that bring about more effective, inclusive, and networked multilateralism, allowing the Asia-Pacific region to work collectively to address its challenges and improve the health and prosperity of everyone. To celebrate the enduring spirit of South-South cooperation, we welcome you to this year's Global South-South Development Expo, co-hosted by ESCAP, the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation and the Royal Thai Government. Let's work together to create a sustainable COVID-19 recovery and accelerate implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We look forward to welcoming you all at the Global South-South Development Expo 2022.
We will now proceed with the panel discussion. I would like to introduce the moderator for today's panel discussion, Ms. Sandra Hanut-Saha. Ms. Hanut-Saha is a radio and television news presenter who currently presents several programs arising on the National Broadcasting Services of Thailand. Ms. Hanut-Saha, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Heywan. Good afternoon, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. As Heywan, our MC, mentioned, my name is Sandra Hanut-Saha, and I'm very honored to be moderating this side event on cooperation with impact for ESCAP's 78th session. Technical cooperation is vital to the inclusive and sustainable development of nations in the Asia-Pacific region, and the global COVID-19 pandemic has made this even more evident. As ESCAP has been involved in an immense number of successful cooperation initiatives, the organization has invited an expert panel of beneficiary as well as donor countries to give us a clearer picture of how impactful cooperation can be. So first from Fiji and online, we have Ms. Kaleni Seruvatu. Ms. Seruvatu serves as Acting Director for Multilateral Affairs at Fiji's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. With a background in policy and international law, she has contributed to Fiji's multilateral engagements and accession to and ratification of multilateral conventions and treaties. Next, representing Indonesia, is Mr. Wisnu Utomo. Mr. Utomo is the Director for Foreign Policy and International Development Cooperation of the Indonesian Ministry of National Development Planning, or Bappenas, mandated to formulate the national development priorities and its budget. And on behalf of Japan is Mr. Toru Terei, who serves as a first secretary of the Embassy of Japan in Thailand, with over a decade at Japan's Ministry of the Environment. Mr. Toru is in charge of Japan and Thailand's environmental cooperation and issues about international organizations. And finally, for the UK is Mr. Philip Cockerill, who heads the UK Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office's Data for Development portfolio. He's a statistician with experience in improving data quality and availability for development and humanitarian use in Africa, the Middle East, and the international statistical system. So welcome to all four of our panelists for today. Now, cooperation can take many forms, from the traditional North-South or developed country supporting developing country format to South-South cooperation where developing countries collaborate. And then we have triangular cooperation where developing countries work together with the backing of a donor country or international organization. Regardless of the form the cooperation takes, it is the impact that is most important. Knowledge, skills, and successful initiatives are shared, capacity is boosted, and solutions are developed and implemented. I'd like to begin by looking at the Pacific Climate Change Migration and Human Security Program, which began in 2019 to enhance protection and empowerment of people affected by climate change and disasters in the Pacific region. So to Ms. Seruvatu, Fiji is one of the program's 14 beneficiary countries. Can you tell us about the key climate change issues for the Pacific Islands and Fiji's role in this program?
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. I have the pleasure to say a very warm good evening to Excellencies and distinguished participants, and also to convey my congratulations to the ESCAP Secretariat for the launch of the second series of the Technical Cooperation publication. Madam Moderator, with regards to the question that you have raised for us for Fiji this evening, it's evening in Fiji already. I'd like to very briefly touch on the Pacific Climate Change Migration and Human Security Program, or PCCMHS in short. This is basically a multi-country, multi-donor joint agency program, and it is delivered through a partnership between the International Organization for Migration, the UN ESCAP, and other partners such as the International Labour Organization, the Office for the High Commissioner of Human Rights, as well as the Platform on Disaster Displacement, and the Pacific Islands Forum Secretariat. The government of Fiji, along with the region and other forum member countries, we work with these agencies to implement this program. So for us, for Fiji, we've benefited greatly from this collaboration in terms of, as you know, our status as a small island developing state. The issue of climate mobility is one that is very important for us, and one that we have continued to advocate at various platforms. Through this program, the region, the small island developing states in the region, we are working towards a regional climate mobility framework, one that will help us in addressing the impacts of climate change on our people. And this program in particular, this work is taken into consideration, is spearheaded as well by the government of Fiji and the government of Tuvalu in taking this collaboration forward through this program, as you have mentioned. In terms of the benefits that we've generated from this collaboration, we've seen that as a region, we are now cooperating, we are coming together to address this regional issue, and working with these partners such as ESCAP. This has helped us to foresee and to plan ahead in mitigating the impacts of climate change, various impacts of climate change on our landscape and on our environment as well. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you very much. I'm just interested in asking about, you said you have the ability to foresee and plan ahead more now. Could you elaborate a little bit more on this?
Thank you, Madam Moderator, for us in terms of the collaboration that I've alluded to in terms of this program. It is now helping us to see what to look ahead and to envisage what we would like to see for us and our people in terms of addressing the impacts of climate change. So as we've always advocated at the international stage, climate change impacts for us are not just abstract, they are very real, and they are issues that we need to address now, along with the other global commitments that we are also undertaking.
Thank you, Ms. Saruvatu. So let me turn to Mr. Toru now. Let me ask you about the successful technical cooperation project called Closing the Loop. Now, this project addressed plastic waste pollution and leakages into the marine environment in ASEAN cities. Could you tell us a bit more about the project outcomes and how Japan came to be involved?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. And before answering your question, I'd like to thank all of you for having me today. It's a very important side event. I'm very glad to join you. For the first question, the Closing the Loop project was about the marine plastic debris, as you mentioned. The purpose of that project is to reduce the leakage of plastic waste into the ocean. The project was conducted in the 4 South Asian cities: Surabaya of Indonesia, Kuala Lumpur of Malaysia, Nakhon Samarat of Thailand, and Da Nang of Vietnam. That project focused on the scientific evidence. Thus, some technological tools were developed under that project. Using the tools, the monitoring of marine plastics was conducted, and some hotspots in the 4 cities were identified. Based on the result of the monitoring, 4 cities developed their action plans to reduce plastic waste leakage into the ocean. So I think this is a very huge outcome, very outstanding outcome of this project, because based on the scientific evidence, each cities developed their own action plans to reduce marine debris. I would like to highlight also that under that project, the kind of e-learning tool was developed. So through the e-learning tool, somebody else can learn how to reduce, what they have to do and what they can do in order to reduce marine plastic debris. So for the second question you asked, I would like to answer that how Japan came to be involved. Marine debris was one of the most important problems for Japan. Now, it's still also it is one of the most important problem for Japan. And we can see that from the Osaka Blue Ocean Vision, which was adopted in G20 in 2019. We knew that Southeast Asia is the biggest source of the plastic waste into the ocean. But so we did want to do something on that. However, if Japan did something by ourselves, it wouldn't work at all, because we have to cooperate to work together with developing country in Southeast Asia or source countries. That is why Japan supported the activity of ESCAP, which was going to work on this issue as well. I think I answered both of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Toru. So, Mr. Utomo, I'd like to bring you into the discussion now, as Surabaya in Indonesia is one of the 4 ASEAN cities benefiting from the Closing the Loop project that Mr. Toru just shared about. Now, Indonesia is an experienced partner in the area of regional cooperation, not just as a beneficiary, but also as a provider of technical assistance. And with the Global South-South Development Expo set for this September in Bangkok, 2022 is obviously an important year for Asia-Pacific's South-South Cooperation, or SSC, and Indonesia is an active proponent. So what are some of the key roles that Indonesia has played in enhancing SSC?
Thank you, Sandra. First of all, I would like to thank ESCAP for inviting me as a panelist in this SEC event to share knowledge and learn from each other's experience. Secondly, I congratulate to ESCAP for the launching of Global South-South Development Expo. Indonesia has long experience in international development cooperation. It is mandated by our nation constitution in 1945 to contribute in the establishment of a world order based on freedom, peace, and social justice. It is further reflected in the Bandung Spirit, 1955, to promote mutual interest and cooperation among certain countries. In strengthening the South-South and triangular cooperation, firstly, we put SSTC as one of our nation development priorities. Second, setting SSTC as thematic budget in the planning budgeting process for issue output identification. Next, we are encouraging non-state actor, including the private sector, to benefit from SSTC. This is aligned with the implementation of GAPA 40 income as next year. Then we are attempting to integrating the principle of SSTC in providing grant to follow certain countries. For instance, the demand-driven principles always being considered in every grant provision. Lastly, we keep on continuing to engage with the development partners in the triangular cooperation, where Indonesia has also contributed. Furthermore, we also actively participate in various international organizations and fora such as Global Partnership for Effective Development Cooperation, GPEDC, in shaping the global architecture for international development cooperation. Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you, Mr. Utomo. So now I'd like to turn to Mr. Cockerill, and thank you so much for being so patient. Your case is interesting because you represent a non-regional participant. I'd like to ask about the initiative that's called Regional Program on Economic Statistics, or RPES. Now, this program ended in 2020, but its impact is lasting because it has helped improve the capacities of national statistical offices across the Asia-Pacific region to produce and disseminate a core set of economic statistics in line with international standards. How did the UK's Department for International Development and now the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office come to be among the multiple donors supporting this regional framework?
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, ESCAP, for inviting me to this event. It's an honor to be sitting alongside distinguished panelists from across the globe. The history behind this is the UK has got a long history of support to the building capacity on data, and this program by ESCAP was really important to us. We know that inclusive economic development is key to eradicating poverty. So in many countries, the economic statistics are just not of the quality required for evidence-based policy making and for investment, and where every country in the world can improve the quality of their data and improve the availability. And so it's exciting to partner with ESCAP on this project. The project was focusing on the availability of economic statistics, but we also wanted to see transformational change in the institutions, in the national statistics offices in countries in Asia-Pacific region. So rather than just supporting areas of economic statistics, it was really important to have a program that looked at broader issues of governance and leadership within the national statistics offices in order to achieve this sustainability of results and to have the broader impacts as well. The regional approach was really important. I think this was a key strength of of the UNESCAP program and of UNESCAP's work in general. And we've mentioned a lot already about South-South cooperation, and UNESCAP have this breadth of vision across a very large region. They're able to identify common opportunities and challenges and encourages peer support and learning. So this combination of direct country support and the establishment of the strong regional networks seemed like a really excellent combination. UNESCAP have a role in promoting international best practice across the region, and so they were able to combine this work with the countries and with the detailed work that they do in country as well, and that helped to ground the theory in their experience with those countries. And so it was very much a program which had feedback loops of learning. As we've said, all countries are able to learn from each other, and every new experience of capacity building brings learning with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cockerell. I'd like to follow up and ask a bit more. So the framework has been endorsed by the region's statistical community, and I know it's been a while because the program ended in 2020, but are there any specific beneficiary country testimonies that stuck out for you that maybe highlighted the good practices learned from the regional program's implementation?
Thank you. That's a very good question, and it was a long time ago. I'm a statistician, and I love to see those technical improvements and recognise the importance of the hard work that goes on behind the scenes. So I have spoken to all of the countries that were directly involved with the support from the UNESCAP program, and those conversations were a while ago. So I don't remember the specific words that people said, and I wouldn't want to single out a specific testimony. But what struck me in those conversations was the energy and enthusiasm of people from the national statistics offices from many different countries. They were all brought into the project's objectives because their objectives were clearly aligned with their own, and that was really important. They didn't see this as a UNESCAP project. They really owned the work, and yeah, it wasn't seen as external. So they were determined to reach the goals that they'd set in a collaboration with UNESCAP, and they were rightly very proud of the achievements that they'd made, and they were proud to share those across the region. They clearly had respect, a lot of respect for the UNESCAP team, the technical expertise that they brought to it, but also the feeling of teamwork as well, that this was a partnership and not just receiving technical assistance. It was very much a partnership, which included learning. So it was joint effort and a mutual respect. So this gave me confidence that UNESCAP can expand that support to broad areas of statistical governance. And as much as I love the technical side but my ultimate desire is to see this quality data used. So I was moved to hear there were testimonies of Director Generals of NSOs from across the region who explained the progress that had been made in their countries. This demonstrated that the project was really embedded at those senior levels. I recall Mr. Chimay Shuring from Bhutan. He was explaining that Bhutan has published their first import-export price indices. This was some years ago, so I'm sure they've done it multiple times since. But not only had they achieved this impressive milestone, they'd also produced a replication study so that others could learn from their experience. I understand that Laos went on to strengthen their import-export indices as well with the help of this study. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So coming back to Mr. Toru now, are there any closing loop elements that Japan might be keen to build on in other technical cooperation initiatives?
Yeah, thank you very much. One of the good aspects of the outcome of the Closing the Loop project is as I mentioned, one is the e-learning toolkit. And another one is that the result was packaged. So if somebody else will do similar activities in this region or in the worldwide in the future, if they will do that from scratch without this package or e-learning tool, it will cost almost same as we spent in the Closing the Loop project. So that means utilizing the package and e-learning toolkit, they can reduce the cost. And at the same time, without these our know-how or package, there are some risk to for the new for them. So this package or e-learning toolkit will also reduce the risk of the new project, and it will make the South-South cooperation or triangle cooperation much easier and more feasible and reasonable, I think.
Thank you for sharing that. So, Ms. Saravatu, what about the climate change migration program? What good or best practices do you see as applicable to other technical cooperation initiatives?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. A significant element of this program, which I would think others could learn from, is the collective support and effort by the program implementing partners. I had said earlier on that this program is being supported by various partners, such as ILO, IOM, and the Human Rights and Pacific Disaster Platform for Disaster Displacement. And these technical agencies utilizing their technical expertise and connecting with their ongoing work in their own fields of expertise has really helped and assisted this program, the rollout of this program, this project in particular. While there are other technical cooperative initiatives in other parts of the world, I'd like to think that our sub-region has a climate mobility regional framework that is not yet seen in other sub-regions. And it would be the first of its kind, which could be an example for other sub-regions as well. The program has a strong focus on inclusive consultation, people-centered approach at all levels, including the community at national and regional level. So it's critical to ensure that the stakeholders have the opportunity to share their priorities and concerns, and their views are reflected in countries' responses to address climate migration. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you very much. So it seems that technical cooperation initiatives for all the participants, they stand to gain so much, and so much can be built upon these initiatives as well. Let's talk about ESCAP for a bit now, as technical cooperation is a core element of the Commission's efforts towards achieving economic and social prosperity in the Asia-Pacific region. I'd like to ask all of my panelists, Ms. Saravatu, Mr. Toru, Mr. Utomo, Mr. Cockerell, all of you, could you think of 3 words to describe ESCAP as a partner? And if you have your answer, would anyone like to volunteer their answer first?
Yes, Sandra. We see that ESCAP can work together with me, with us, in the framework of collaboration, convergence, and complementarity. And the government of Indonesia will be friend. Will be a friend. Yeah.
I'm sorry. So that's cooperation, complementability, and
convergence. Convergence.
Oh, convergence. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Utomo. Who would like to go next?
Well, following Mr. Utomo, it chose 3 C's. I've also chosen 3 C's as well, although I may be breaking the rules for not quite having 3 words, but I've said that they are committed to collaboration for the common good. I've seen strong commitments by individuals with a real passion to see data strengthened, and I've seen an approach which values the establishment of long-term relationships with NSAs looking to future goals and strengthening institutions, not just individuals. Collaboration is key to the way that ESCAP operate. Their work in specific countries is a partnership where both parties bring best efforts, and more broadly across the region, they promote collaboration. Peer-to-peer support is proven to be very effective in supporting capacity building. And of course, it's for the common good. I think we opened up by saying that, ESCAP know that the end goal of better data is that we can ensure that they can inform policies to tackle the issues such as climate change, communicable diseases. But ultimately, it's to ensure that no citizens are left behind, because they've got to focus on data for development purposes. So committed to collaboration for the common good. Thank you.
Thank you for those 3 words: committed to collaboration, common good. Okay, and sure.
Can I?
Sure, of course,
Okay,
please, Mr.
thank you. The 3 words is not, it doesn't start from C, but reach, connected. Oh, this is and action. So reach means long reach. Since ESCAP is one of the UN organizations in the one of the biggest UN organizations in Asia and the Pacific region, a lot of people from almost all over the country, all of countries know ESCAP, and they have confidence. They rely on ESCAP. I think this know well and rely on that is basis, will be a basis in the implementing cooperation project. In closing the, for example, in closing the loop project, 4 countries, I mean, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Malaysia accept this project and welcomed it. Without this, I think it was there was some difficulties in implementing this project. Connected is, I mean, well connected. Since ESCAP is composed of several committees, including the environmental committee, or IT, space, social development. Many kind of people are working at ESCAP, and ESCAP has a lot of knowledge. I think this enabled ESCAP to implement or to make the project happen very easily, because they can get many knowledge or know-how or technologies easily. The last word, action, I mean overaction. The project, this is a very simple, but the project implemented by ESCAP is well coordinated, well organized. I think this is simply because the people of ESCAP is the ability of the people of ESCAP is very high. These are 3 words from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So reach, connected, and action. And last but not least, Ms. Sarabatu, we're excited to hear what you have to say. 3 words.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I think the other panelists have pretty much covered the words that that would aptly describe ESCAP. But from my end, I'd say
we can't hear you. Can we fix that issue? Just when she was about to tell us her 3 words. Just 1 second.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, we can. Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, so my 3 words are probably, I'd say, a long-term, sustainable, and technical support partner is how I'd describe ESCAP based on our collaborations that we've had so far and the support that has been given to Fiji and the region as well. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
So long-term, sustainable, and technical partner. Did I get that right?
Technical support partner.
Technical support partner, technical support partner. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. So it sounds like ESCAP truly is a positive force in technical cooperation for the Asia Pacific region. That's wonderful. So let's talk a little bit more now about the technical cooperation initiatives. How can we make them more effective? I'd like to ask Ms. Sarabatu first. How do you think ESCAP can enhance its technical cooperation initiatives or make them more effective?
Thank you. Speaking from the perspective of the Pacific sub-region, I'd say to strengthen the contribution of ESCAP to the sub-region, we may wish to consider sustainable and tailored support for the sub-region, taking into account the different needs and priorities across the Pacific.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Toro, do you have anything to add to that?
I'm sorry, I was checking my my
That's okay.
script, so sorry.
That's okay.
To be honest.
So how do you think ESCAP can enhance its technical cooperation initiatives or make them more effective?
Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much for good question. I think it is not more, but as I explained in the Closing the Loop project, ESCAP provided some tools. I mean, e-learning tool and package toolkit. So this kind of way will be will enhance South-South cooperation or triangular cooperation much easier. So I think in every project, providing this kind of package or tool and delivering know-how to the other person will be much efficient and effective in the future project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Cockrell, the same question to you, since you were involved in the regional program on economic statistics. How do you think ESCAP can enhance its technical cooperation initiatives?
Thank you. Yes. I mean, I think ESCAP take a good approach of when they start a program, they look at best practice. So in the program that I was involved in, you know, they aligned with national priorities. They made sure they had the national commitment to the program at both the technical level and the senior and political level. They made sure the government had resources in place to work with them on this project. And so, you know, they work with the international best practice and then they learn lessons as they go. So I think this is a really effective approach. I mean, what ESCAP have done on the peer-to-peer learning is really effective. And I think in an environment where we've got resource constraints, then, you know, having peer-to-peer support is really important. So to maintain this, you know, the international conference which brought together Asia Pacific community of statistical experts was really effective. And I think ESCAP can maybe learn now from the period of COVID. We've moved away from totally virtual. Now we've got hybrid. It's great. I can join from London. You know, learn from this experience that we can connect the network up. It's not the same as face-to-face, but, you know, there's more opportunities for networking, more opportunities for peer support. And I would also finally encourage ESCAP to think beyond. I mean, the program that I was involved with was economic statistics. I know they do think beyond that, but to think about broader areas of governance of statistics, about supporting governments with the potential use of non-government data, helping the governments establish authority in a broader data landscape, looking at areas such as ethics, data ethics, and supporting the use of data. So going beyond producers to helping governments work with users to really get the use of that data so we can have maximum impact. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're running out of time, but I just want to ask Mr. Utomo now, if we look at things right now, what would you say are the current technical cooperation priorities for the government of Indonesia?
Okay. I would like to inform you that Bappenas is mandated to formulate national development priorities. According to the 5 years National Development Plan, the priorities for SSTC, among other, are strengthening the SSTC to boost economic cooperation, as well as creating and enabling environment for private sector engagement. The SSTC prioritization for economic cooperation is in line with the implementation of SDGs Goal 17 targets. In the past, our technical cooperation was most likely in the form of a single of activities. To increase the sense of ownership and sustainability, we believe that support for economic cooperation with the involvement of non-state actors, including the private sector, will bring SSTC closer the beneficiaries. In doing that, we publish the multi-stakeholder partnership guidance. The best example is a reverse linkage project of development of artificial insemination for livestock for Kyrgyzstan in 2015 to 2017. It resulted in the improvement of Kyrgyz livestock product management. This project is now replicate to Suriname. Okay.
Right. Okay. And do you see ESCAP supporting Indonesia's vision for the South-South cooperation?
Yeah.
Do you see ESCAP supporting Indonesia's vision for South-South cooperation?
Oh, currently we conduct the background study for the National Development Plan for 2025 to 2045. STC will remain one of Indonesian development priorities, particularly to support the economic transformation. For example, initiative to increase SSTC activities concerning the blue-green economy. Our understanding, ESCAP is an inclusive platform consisting of various countries. Therefore, we expect ESCAP to function as brokerage to connect supply demand in exchange development experience. Full fund through resource mobilization for project execution and development communication of practitioners to facilitate peer learning among member countries. Bappenas and ESCAP have been collaboration for a long time in development activities, including the SSTC. Previously, ESCAP and our office also collaborate to promote multi-stakeholder partnership as an approach to development. For more than 3 years, Bappenas has also collaborated with the regional coordinator of UNOSSG Asia Pacific and triangular cooperation in the field of village innovation program. Considering this, that ESCAP members comprise many countries dealing with various issues, some of the strategic issues in the region could be collaborated through the SSCC pilot project I think issues such as marine debris management, eradicating disease of livestock, renewable energy, sustainability fisheries, or aquaculture development can be the pioneer in initiating development cooperation facility by the UNESCO. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Otomo. I'm sure the other governments or representatives and panelists will agree that technical cooperation is important, and UNESCAP can also help improve that. We've run out of time. Unfortunately, I've been given the signal to wrap things up. So I think we all have a better understanding, though, that technical cooperation is essential, and it enables us all to emerge stronger. And after listening to our panelists, I can understand why ESCAP is proud to play a part. I'd like to thank Ms. Servato from Fiji, Mr. Toru from Japan, Mr. Cockerell from the UK, and Mr. Utomo from Indonesia for being with us today to discuss cooperation with impact. Thank you to the government of the Republic of Indonesia and ESCAP for organizing this panel, and thank you to everyone joining us today for your kind attention.
We'll now proceed with the launch of the Asca publication, Technical Cooperation Highlights 2020-2021. I invite Mr. Adnan Aliani to introduce the publication.
Excellencies, distinguished participants, as the regional arm of the United Nations, ESCAP promotes cooperation amongst countries in pursuit of solutions to sustainable development challenges across Asia and the Pacific. ESCAP's support to its member states is multifaceted and includes action and policy-oriented knowledge products, a platform for policy dialogues, and technical assistance and support of national development objectives, regional agreements, and the 2030 Agenda. The COVID-19 pandemic has derailed much of the progress made by the region towards sustainable development. It has widened inequalities and added further layers of challenges to the achievement of the SDGs. Seeing this risk in the early days of the pandemic, we repositioned our offer to the region around 3 pillars: protecting people and enhancing resilience, supporting economic recovery, and restoring supply chains and supporting SMEs. Technical Cooperation Highlights 2020-2021, which we are launching today, tells the story of how ESCAP supported its member states over the past 2 years for sustainable recovery from the pandemic and achieving the SDGs. All these efforts are based on regional cooperation and strong partnerships that ESCAP has nurtured for decades. As I speak, you are getting a glimpse of the diversity of our technical cooperation projects and partners that are featured in the publication, covering a broad range of areas, including reducing inequalities and leaving no one behind, building resilience and capacity for climate change mitigation and adaptation, sustainable connectivity, and innovative financing and investments for sustainable development. ESCAP's projects have demonstrated impact at the regional, sub-regional, and country levels. Our member states have recognized time and time again that the development challenges they face are too large and too complex to be addressed on their own. As ESCAP celebrates its 75th anniversary, in the wake of the devastating COVID-19 pandemic, the importance of multilateralism and enhanced targeted South-South and triangular cooperation in the region is even more pronounced. As we look back and celebrate our achievements, we need to ensure that we learn lessons from our experiences to guide our future actions. The Technical Cooperation Highlights 2020-2021 is an opportunity for us to do just that, based on rich evidence and data. It is now my great pleasure to launch the 2020-2021 edition of ESCAP's Technical Cooperation Highlights. You can access the publication through the links provided on the screen and in the chat box. In your presence, I would like to take this opportunity to thank my colleagues from ESCAP who have designed and implemented these impactful projects. And of course, our donors and our partners whose unwavering support and cooperation continues to facilitate our capacity development programs. Thank you very much.
Distinguished participants, this brings us to the end of today's side event on cooperation with impact towards a more resilient and sustainable Asia-Pacific region. I would like to thank you all for your participation. The Commission will reconvene in ESCAP Hall as well as online through the Kudo platform to continue with Agenda Item 4, review of the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in Asia and the Pacific. Thank you very much.